Oh, I always think it's gonna fade out and then it doesn't fade out. Hey besties. Happy Sunday. Sunday scaries. My blinds are open because I forgot to close them. I don't know what to talk about today. So if we don't have to be on here that long, I won't. But as you can see, feel free to ask me a question. And if I absolutely need to, then I have something else I can use to tell a story. Oh, well, hello. Hello, friends. Hey, Deb. Perfect break from dictation. So glad. So glad I could provide a moment to not think about that and think about something else. Hi, April. Good to see you. Hey, Jada. Psychic as fuck. I just looked at my phone to text you and I said, I bet Winter on live. Yeah, I literally just turned my camera on. So you are right on time. I don't have a topic though. I was just on the phone with Emilia trying to figure out what to discuss because I don't feel like doing a big brain thing right now. I'll probably do that tomorrow and the next day when I have a little bit more energy. But I went to the gym today, so my muscles in my body are all tired. And it's just been a long day of doing absolutely nothing. So I wanted to stay on my relaxation shit and just come talk to y'all a little bit. Just chat it up. So casual live today. April says, my friend and I were chatting. What's the astrology of the food recalls right now? I've been noticing this is the Jupiter return of the jungle by Upton Sinclair. Oh, that's interesting. If you got capacity to think about that, no worries. No, I have thought about this actually. I think the astrology of the food recalls is Mars and Cancer. I think it's part of this Mars retrograde in Cancer, as a matter of fact. And some of the reasons I think that one is because my friend Nadine suggested it, and I was like, you know what? You might be onto something. And the other reason is because in the Aries ingress for the United States, Cancer is the second house because we have Gemini rising. And the Aries ingress is basically like a solar return for the US. So Mars doing a retrograde between the second house and the first house. Second house represents food. And especially with Cancer there too, like represents food, represents eating and the place where we go for nourishment. But especially like since we have cardinal signs in the second house, eighth house, fifth house, and 11th house of the Aries ingress, cardinal signs are about what? Regulation and control. And since a lot of the recalls are due to lack of regulations, especially because corporations are trying to cut costs, whether those are labor costs that it would take to, I don't know, pay their employees fairly enough to actually stay on top of cleaning the equipment, or having enough staff to actually clean the equipment as often as it needs, or whatever it is. There's like a number of ways. Like they're not doing testing as much. I read somewhere that it had to do with like the lack of infrastructure to do testing properly on all of the food. And I believe both the Trump administration and the Biden administrations have not prioritized food safety, basically. In fact, they've deprioritized food safety and testing. So to me, I think it's Mars and Cancer. I think the Mars retrograde in Cancer, I just talked about this on my last live, is partially probably about them reinstating regulations at some point, or like um food being something that all of us are affected by regardless of what political party we identify with or what political praxis we follow. Food is something that affects all of us, and so this retrograde is kind of like disrupting food supply, also water supply probably coming soon, the economy in general, inflation, housing, all of these different things, global warming issues and infrastructure, flooding infrastructure, and God, who knows with the seasons changing as well, if they even fucking change. So stuff like that. That's kind of my astrology of the food recalls, Mars retrograde, and then we'll have Jupiter station retrograde in Cancer next year, and then Jupiter will be in Cancer in 2026. So things to keep in mind as we're going through all of this. I wouldn't be surprised too if bird flu. I'm still waiting on bird flu to pop. It is starting to trickle a little bit. I haven't been able to see whether bird flu is a cardinal or a mutable thing. It's probably a little bit of both. I did have a sneaking suspicion that that might be more of a Saturn and Pisces thing, but now I'm not really sure if that's going to be the case either. But I'm starting to see it pop back up a little bit more, especially with more human cases. And if it goes human to human, that'll be another thing to just kind of add to the tally, but it may not do that. So we'll see. But those are my thoughts on that. Yeah, waiting on it to pop. Like one of my other, it's not really a prediction per se, but something else I was thinking about talking about that I still don't really have much of an idea about is Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, which is coming up very, very soon. Mercury is at the end degrees of Libra right now. So I think it's this week. Where's my phone? Hold on, let me grab my phone. I can move around. Um oh yeah. Mercury literally enters Scorpio and kicks off Mercury retrograde season on Tuesday, the 29th. So one of my thoughts for Mercury retrograde season was because one of my Mercury retrograde thoughts, since we're talking about the Aries ingress, I guess that's a good segue into this. But uh Scorpio is the sixth house of the Aries ingress, and sixth house has to do with health and illness. Jupiter is still in Taurus in the 12th house of the Aries ingress, which has to do with hospitals. So, with more human cases of bird flu popping up while Venus is in Scorpio in the sixth house of the Aries ingress, it's not the best omen. It might not, but again, I don't know. I still don't have a full clear picture on what sign, what element, what modality bird flu is, because I was expecting it with the Mars Jupiter conjunction, but because they're not being super vocal about it, it's hard to keep up with it, right? So but I was thinking if something with illnesses, I mean this is also related to the food recalls as well, because Mars is the ruler of the sign Scorpio, and like I just said about Mars and Cancer, it's doing that retrograde in the second house dealing with food. So those two things are related as well. But yeah, I think Mercury will get us talking about whatever the Mercury retrograde is really going to be, probably as soon as it enters Scorpio. And that's also going to make sense of what this Venus in Scorpio transit was just doing. So, the Mercury retrograde amplifying sixth house topics for the US at the very least would have to do with, like I said, health and illness, but also labor and workers' rights and things like that. And probably, I don't know what else the sixth house is in the mundane sense. I would have to look. So um, I do wonder if bird flu is something that we have to contend with in this retrograde, just because it is going to make three exact oppositions to Jupiter. I do have dates for those in the iCals if you bought the iCals already, and they're also in the Astrotherapy Guide if you bought the Astrotherapy Guide transit list, if you want the dates for that. Yeah, it's going to make three oppositions to Jupiter, but it's also tied up in this opposition between Mars in Cancer and Venus in Capricorn a little bit later. We still have a ways to go for that because Venus still has to go through Sagittarius, but Yeah. Originally, I thought that was gonna have to do with the economy and housing stuff, but that didn't really make sense. But, I think it'll definitely have to do with these food recalls, especially because with the holidays, how a lot of these holidays coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas are food-centric holidays. So I'm sure that'll be part of the process or part of the conversation too. And then, yeah, I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on bird flu. We'll see when Venus enters Sagittarius, probably, if it's more of a mutable thing or a cardinal thing. Because if it doesn't come up with Venus and Sagittarius, then it will definitely come up with Venus and Capricorn. Because we'll have more cardinal in the sky. We haven't had very much cardinal in the sky recently. It's been mostly fixed sign stuff. And will be, well, that's not true. We just had a lot of cardinal in the sky. I don't know why I'm lying with Libra transits. So, yeah, I don't know. Scattered thoughts because I'm just dumping information out of my brain, but yeah. But yeah, as far as like what is Mercury retrograde going to be about, I don't know. Um I don't know. I don't remember what the shadow dates are for that transit either. I thought I had them written down. I'm slacking on my astrologer duties, so I apologize. It's a lot. I don't know if y'all realize just when I'm rambling, but it's a lot to keep up with. Um, it's a lot to hold in your brain at once. But let me see what the degrees are. Mercury, stationary, retrograde. That's gonna be what? Oh, that's 2023. Child, I was about to say, November 25th. I guess it is about to be November, like tomorrow. Oh, that's why it's going to station at the in degrees of Scorpio. So it'll station retrograde at 28 degrees Scorpio on November 25th. So very long. Well, not very long. Probably a 3-ish month retrograde cycle that we're looking at. 2-ish, 2.5 maybe. So it'll station retrograde 28 Scorpio. It will station direct January 1st. Happy New Year, bitches. uh oh, but that's not right. Mercury direct at 27 Scorpio. That's not right. That was a typo in the iCals. Well, let me look. Oh, because that was 2024. I lied. Disregard. Disregard. Get it together. Mercury's going to station direct December 15th, 12 degrees Scorpio. Didn't something else happen at. No, because I would have known. That's like right on top of my Venus and Jupiter. But I feel like something else happened at that degree recently. Man, if I was like on Twitch or something where I could like show y'all what I do whenever I go down astrology rabbit holes, I would do that on live. I might figure out a way to do that because that's something I've been thinking about that might be interesting to the astro nerds. Is like when I have moments like these where I'm trying to figure out what a transit is, and so I have to go back through the astrology of the last however long and see when was the last time something was at 12 degrees, of fixed signs, or at 28 degrees, sorry, 28 degrees of fixed signs. And then trying to remember like what was going on personally or collectively or politically or whatever it was and how all those things tie together. But it's more interesting when you can watch than when you just hear me thinking out loud. At least in my opinion, I think it's more interesting. Um, what's OBS? OBS. Um, so yeah, just to clarify the dates, December 15th, Mercury stationary direct at 12 degrees Scorpio. So that being said, 12 we'll cross 12 degrees Scorpio the first time and enter the retrograde shadow officially on November 7th. So next week, shortly after the election. And Venus will also be in Sagittarius by then too. And then from there, we will cross 28 degrees Scorpio after the retrograde in 28, January 2nd. And then Mercury enters Sagittarius on January 4th. So, yeah, like 2.5 months of retrograde season. Trying to screen share my phone. Um, I wasn't, but no, you have to do that on the computer. Um, no, just like screen share. I was gonna say screen sharing on this computer because I can do that with Zoom, but it's confusing trying to do it on StreamYard. So yeah, but I'm not trying to do it right now. Just another time because like I said, don't have the brain capacity for that. But wait, let me say hi to the rest of y'all. I just realized there was more people coming in here. Hi, hello, hi Kratos, Imani. Okay, and then y'all was just talking to each other. Find a day to play with it together. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, let me see what else y'all talking about in the chat. Yeah, trying to imagine what Jupiter and Cancer will be. Yeah, we will be in another dimension by then, my friends. We will be in another dimension because Saturn will enter Pisces and then it'll have that trine with reception because Pisces is a Jupiter ruled sign. So Saturn will be ruled by Jupiter, ruled by the Jupiter transits for the next 3 years. That was another thing I was trying to think about recently. Like, what does it really mean for these slower moving planets like Saturn and Jupiter and even Mars to be ruled by these quicker moving planets? But that is also another brain tangent for another day because shit gets hairy. But something I was thinking about for the Jupiter retrograde in Cancer next year, since it's going to be at 0 degrees Cancer, is that you can think about Cancer transits this year, like when they actually moved from Gemini to Cancer, what that was like for you, what those transitions were like for you. It was definitely spicy. Excuse me, definitely spicy for me because my ascendant is at 28 degrees Gemini, and then my sun is across the street at 0 degrees Cancer, or at 0 degrees Capricorn. So everything from about 26 degrees of mutable signs to about 3 degrees of cardinal signs be beating my ass directly, and I take it personal. So, oh, I'm sorry you were at the ER with your kid, though. I hope everybody's okay. Nobody was masking. Yeah, nobody. I've let that go at this point. If they don't want to mask, that's just where we at. Oh, Jada, you did have a question up here. Thank you for reminding me. Oh, before we answered, before I answer, when I was talking to Emilia, Emilia was like, "You can go on live and talk about ADHD," and I was like, "I could talk about ADHD," and they were like, "Did you ever get evaluated by your therapist? Like when she said y'all were gonna do that?" This was like a year ago, and I was like, "Oh, we never did." I was like, "I guess we've, I guess I just forgot." We had like a long pause, and then just both busted out laughing because, duh. Of course, we forgot ADHD. But that is another interesting topic I could talk about. I was thinking about also just talking about random neuroscience facts, little factoids that I hold in my brain. And I do have a couple of them about ADHD that I didn't know. But let me see what Jada asked. I'm writing for a program I'm hosting, and I'm breaking down mediumship and divination. Do you see astrology as divination? If so, which of the four nature elements would you assign it to? Ooh. Hmm. Immediately, I would say air as far as nature elements, if that's a nature element. Immediately, I think it's air, unless space is a nature element, then obviously space. I'm kidding. Um, but yeah, I think astrology would be air. I keep bumping the mic. And then do I see it as divination? Yeah, I think so. I'm curious before I fully answer that, what is your definition of divination? Um because I think astrology is a lot of things and divination is one of them. I do think it is a tool for divination. Um and just like also a medium in general that you can kind of tap into. Rather than spirit, I would say the universe, which maybe is also spirit too. I guess it just depends on who you ask. But there are some ways that I kind of see spirits as separate, but then there are also ways that I see them together. So, but yeah, curious what did the therapist forget too? They also have ADHD. Oh, kidney stone, that's so uncomfortable. No, she doesn't, but I think at the time I was only seeing her like once a month or like not very often. Um, so I think we both just forgot, but she did have me do an autism questionnaire and I scored high enough to be like neurodivergent, but not quite like high enough to definitely be somewhere on the spectrum, but low enough to not really need further testing or something like that. I don't remember what the answer is. I mean, it's a spectrum, so it's not like, it's not like a linear scale, but it just wasn't super high. It was high enough to be like, yeah, probably, but you know, anyway. Hey Emilia, working definition. The act of consulting a tool to seek information about past, current, or working affairs. Wait, past, current, or future affairs. So then, yeah, definitely a tool of divination. Definitely a tool of divination by that definition, I think. Um, and yeah, air. I mean, I feel like it's air because of intellect, but more in the sense that, like, let me put your question back up so everyone knows what I'm talking about. Um, Yeah, if I had to pick one to assign it to, because I do think it can be a lot of things, but for me, I think it's I view my neuropsych test as divination tools. For me, I feel like it's air because it is not something concrete that we're working with. I mean, in some ways, like pulling charts and using ephemerides and pulling data and stuff like that is very earth. Like you are like gathering information in the sense of like time and charts and things like that, but at the same time I feel like astrology, you like interpreting astrology to me is very air because there's not like one singular factual perspective or belief system that qualifies it. It's very subjective and there are so many different perspectives and a lot of it is very much like in the ether to me. Some of it is, observing things happening in real time, but at the same time, to kind of project meaning onto it, to me feels very air. Giving language to basically like the patterns that you're observing and stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's air in that sense. Plus, it is as much as it is in art, or as much as it is like, as much as it is what am I trying to say? Like an interpretive process, it's also very scientific and very mathematical, like there's a lot of geometry involved. There's a lot of pattern recognition and hypothesizing and kind of running experiments, and I don't know. So it's very much a science and an art in that way too. But it really depends on who you ask, I think. I think for me, because the way my chart is set up, being air dominant, it feels like more of an intellectual exercise for me. But I think for other people, it can be very spiritual. It can be, it can show up in other ways. So, um, see what y'all are saying in here. Y'all going off in the chat. Love to see it. This made me laugh. Kind of on the down low with my medium intuitive skills, so I pull cards, not in front of people, in addition to giving tests. Yeah, I feel that too. It adds in now I'm getting distracted. It adds another layer of like, because that's what I like tarot for. I was telling Samaje this the other night because I like to apply tarot as like a what am I not seeing type of application for me personally, because I can know a lot of things intellectually with whatever it is that I'm studying, especially when it comes to astrology. And then tarot is kind of like, okay, but there's also this. Have you considered this? Have you looked at it in this way? And then I'm like, oh, and then adding in the imagery and the storytelling and just additional context maybe, or perspective, and in a way to like actually look at the thing and what questions to ask, or if there's something, especially when working with people directly and then pulling cards, they can tell on you or tell on you or tell on them, so that you have to so that you get another whatever it is that someone isn't saying. Cards, tarot feels very Pisces to me personally. I think tarot feels very water if I had to assign it an element. Not that you asked, but feels very water to me. It also feels kind of, I think they just feel very Jupiter to me in general, because you're really extracting a lot of meaning from very little information and from a longer context or lineages of storytelling and imagery and history and stuff that tarot itself as a practice has, which I mean, the same could be said for astrology too. So let's see. Emilia says they feel like astrology can't be assigned to one element. It's merging multiple things. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it observes multiple elements. Obviously, it's got all of the elements involved in it, but just as a practice, I don't know, in the way that we engage with it, to me feels more air. They said water to the extent that it's intangible knowing, earth because we're observing material correlations, air because we're assigning concepts to things like planets, fire in the sense that applications can vary depending on intentions. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a quite, yeah, might let this be a cute debate during class. You could. Yeah, I feel like it really depends on what you're using it for too, or how you're using it. I was thinking more about the use of astrology, and I also have tarot and cartomancy under air, storytelling and communication. Yeah, I mean, they do feel like air to me, but it is interesting, like, I mean, yeah, thinking of it as swords kind of does, I don't know, make it make sense to me. Mhm, mhm, mhm. I love that because I also did that when I was working as a therapist. I also use my divination skills to help with the treatment plans I built. Totally. So I feel like yeah, with coaching and therapy and all of these other things, I feel like it's more helpful to have more than just the the process or the coaching model or the DSM or whatever it is that you're using. I feel like it's anytime you're working with clients, like pulling in intuition, that like that feeling that you're getting that there's something that's not being said, something that's not being spoken about, something that's like not verbal. Like there's a lot of nonverbal stuff happening when you're working one to one with clients too. That I feel like if you're just focused on the science of it all or the work, the published work of it all, the theory of it all, the air of it all, there's a lot that you miss working with people too. So mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, helpful with helping me formulate when my clients didn't have the words yet. Absolutely. And that's actually what I feel like astrology does a lot. It's like when you introduce, because that's why I really feel like it air probably the most, because it introduces a new perspective. And that's what I feel like air mostly does. It takes a thing and it literally objectifies it in a sense that you're kind of removing yourself and your own specific perspective on it, which to me is a little bit more fire. Like your individual perspective or perception of something to me feels very fire and wanting to impose that in everything. Whereas air is kind of like, okay, if I take myself out of it and I look at it from this wider lens that considers all of the different angles and all of the different possible outcomes and thinking into the future or thinking into the past, it's very like not present, I feel like. And so, like I said, it depends on the application, but that's what kind of makes me say that air, a lot of divination to me feels like air in that sense. But at the same time, it's all of it, right? You're talking about tarot being fluid. Yeah, I like the thought of tarot being water. It just feels that way to me. It feels very Pisces to me, I guess. So that's why I say water. Whereas like astrology feels a little bit more mercurial to me. And tarot just as the tool, not necessarily adding mediumship into it. If you legit just went off the little what the little book says. Mhm. I think the earth aspect of astro isn't noticed because we're talking about systems which only come to life when applied in real life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier about it being like, there is a lot of data collection involved with astrology. It's not just, pop astrology where you find out someone's placements and then you just start imposing all of these ideas. Like the archetypes come from like actually engaging with and um observing and witnessing charts and patterns and people's experiences, like actual life experiences and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, but ultimately, yeah, it provides language. Astrology provides language, and data collection feels very swords to me. Oh, that's interesting. Data collection, of course, to me is going to feel like Virgo, but I mean, it's also Gemini. So I think it depends. It depends on the person that you ask, but um, it does feel more intangible to me personally. So okay, I'm off this topic. What else? What else? What else? What else? See if there was anything I missed. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, yeah. Anyway. Anyways, child. I had a random idea, and we're already 37 minutes in. So I had a random idea whenever I was cleansing the space before I came on live to pull out this game. And it's called Where Should We Begin? A Game of Stories by Esther Perel, who's kind of on my shit list right now, but it's fine. Emilia gave me this game for my birthday, for Valentine's Day, I don't know. Anyway, and I thought maybe I should pull one of these cards and tell you guys a story. So, how you play the game is they give you all of these cards that have different types of subjects, I guess, or like different themes to get to know people and tell stories. Because her whole thing is like we learn each other through storytelling. And so it's a massive deck of cards, and I forget what all of the different categories are, but some of them are emotional, some of them are sexual, some of them are intellectual, some of them are, whatever, whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I thought maybe and then they give you dice or a die, I guess, that has like basically what type of story you're telling based on the card that you pull, or how you should tell the story, I guess, depending on where the die falls. So the die has share something funny, share from your teenage point of view, share something surprising. So stuff like that. So what you do. No, this is the reason she's on my shit list. We're on the same page. Um, a lot of the therapists and people in that realm are all kind of doing this, except for Gabor Mate, who's literally Jewish, saying, speaking a little bit more honestly about the genocide. But yes, this is one of the reasons she's kind of on my shit list at the moment. But in general, I love her work. Outside of her personal views on politics, I like her work, and I like her perspective on relationships, especially eroticism in relationships. She has a good perspective. So I don't know if y'all think this is interesting and y'all want to hear me tell a story that I don't know what I'm going to tell. I'm going to shuffle these cards and let's get parasocial for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to roll the die first to see what type of story that the universe wants me to tell the internet. This looks like something inappropriate is happening. Okay. Story time. Hell yeah. Share from my teenage point of view is what I got. Oh. Oh. You want me to share from my teenage point of view while the moon is still in Leo? Embarrass. Hey Sydney, welcome in. I just split the deck in half, so hopefully this isn't the one that has. Hopefully these are shuffled somewhat. I think I tried to shuffle them, but beforehand, but I don't know how well that went. I should have been using this deck sooner, honestly. This is a great idea. I'll probably use these for the rest of the week while I do these last few daily lives. Because I was telling Jada, sometimes I just want to be entertaining. Sometimes I don't always want to be smart. Sometimes I just want to be cute and funny and sexy. Astro himbo, right? Sometimes I just want to be a himbo. Okay, share from your teenage point of view. I make too big a deal about. I don't know if this is backwards, sorry, but okay. Oh, yes, if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, tell YouTube that I'm cute and funny and important and that you should listen to me. Okay, from my teenage point of view, I make too big a deal about. Okay, so let me make myself back into a teenager and find something that I was being dramatic about, because I absolutely was. What's something I made a really big deal about when I was a teenager? I'm trying to think of like relationship drama because that's mostly what was going on. And when you're a teenager, you overreact to everything. Okay, I have a funny story. This is about sports. but it's not about basketball. It's actually about track. I hope y'all think this is as dramatic as I think it is. I'm gonna try to tell it in a way that really embodies how dramatic it was as a teenager, because that's the whole point, right? Okay, so for context, in high school, yes, I played basketball. That was the love of my life, but I also ran track and I was a hurdler. I've been a hurdler basically since seventh grade, and I was really good at it. I have a lot of medals. A lot of medals. I usually was top three, if not first, when I ran. Um, so I've I've never reacted the right amount. Um, oh, I've only ever reacted exactly the right amount. Yeah, right. Okay. So yes, I was a runner. I was a track star, and obviously I was running with girls at the time because I was a girl in high school, and one of the best on my team, one of the best in the city. So we would have this track meet every year that was the city meet, basically, and it was called the Amarillo Relays. And um, we, whenever you run them in middle school, you get medals that were little A's. But whenever you run it when you're in high school, you get medals that are big A's. And I wanted a big A medal, a big A medal. I can't remember if all top 3 places got A's, or if it was just first place got A's, but either way, for whatever reason, I wanted one of these medals real bad. So I ran, so let me put myself in the day, because it was like a perfect day to run track. It was probably 75 degrees, no wind, which is when you run hurdles, like, you don't want wind. You don't want it to be windy. And I ran the 300-meter hurdles, by the way. I was not a 100-meter high hurdler because I could not for the life of me figure out to three step. I think my legs are too short. I don't know. The other girls knew how to three step. I did not. But I beat ass on the 300-meter hurdles because there's a lot of space to run in between the hurdles, and I was fast between the hurdles, and my form was only like okay. So, but like I said, I usually placed in hurdles when we were running against other schools in the city, and very competitive. So I was getting all geared up to run the 300-meter hurdles in the Amarillo Relays on like the perfect day to run. It was not too hot, not too cold, no wind, no clouds in the sky, probably. And I was feeling good. I was feeling really good about myself. And the girls I was running against, I knew I could beat all of them. So it was like I had it in the bag. And I was pumped. I was doing my warm ups. I was getting all hyped, listening to Roman's Revenge or whatever song I was obsessed with at the time to get me hyped up. And I am I get all set up, I get incredibly nervous before races, like shit my pants nervous every single time. And everyone is there, everyone in the city, all of our parents, everybody's in the stands. It was a big deal, and I just knew I was going to win this race. So posted up in the blocks, whatever, and the gun goes off, and I'm flying through, burned through the first 100 meters, burned through the corner, and I'm like leaving everybody in the dust. Everyone's behind me. Then you get into the final stretch. Now, running the final stretch of the 300-meter hurdles is like time slows down, everything in your body hurts, your lungs are on fire, and it feels like you're running in slow motion. And it feels like it takes every single cell in your body to get over those last, I want to say it's like 4 hurdles. But I come around the corner and I'm feeling good. And I think this is before I was on medication. This was my maybe junior year, sophomore, junior year of high school. So I'm coming down the stretch and I'm running, and boom, I make it over the first hurdle. And I'm like, everybody is so far behind me. It's like not even a big deal. But my legs are just on fire. My lungs are on fire. This is usually the race that's like right after spring break as well. So I'm like kind of out of shape. But, regardless, getting over, and then boom, getting over the second hurdle, the third to last hurdle. And then I have to get over the fourth to last hurdle and like barely make it over. And I'm like, oh, land, and like chop, 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 running. And then the last hurdle, I go to run over the last hurdle and I kick my leg up, and then I fall. I like clipped the hurdle and I just like fold forward. I just like fall, I like bust, I fall on the ground, and I'm like, oh my god, I fell. Mind you, I've never fallen in a race before. Never fell in a race after that. The one time I fall and I just laid there. Oh my god! And everyone is on the sideline screaming, "Get up, Winter! Get up! You can still win! Get up!" But I'm just like in my head, like, "Oh my god! I just fell. I've never fallen before in a race. This is so tragic and humiliating. Oh my god! This is the worst thing ever." And I just laid there, and then two or three girls passed me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then I like finally time sped back up. And so I get back up and I run across the finish line and I finished in fourth place. Fourth place. And I didn't get my big fucking A. That might have been, was that my senior year? I'm trying to remember why it was so fucking dramatic. Because it was like I fell and I was well ahead of everybody else by at least 2 or 3 hurdles. I could have finished if I would have just gotten up. But it was so, I was so distraught. Because I was just shook. I couldn't believe that I fell. I've never fallen in a race. Never fell before, never fell after, and I've run, I don't know, I probably ran at least 50 races. Who knows at the time. I just felt like such a fucking loser. And everybody saw me. And then the fact that I could have gotten up and still finished first, but I laid there like a little bitch. So yeah, so I didn't even medal. I got none of the medals because I just laid there and didn't get back up. And I was so upset. It was like nobody talked to me. Nobody talked to me. I wasn't even hurt. I don't even think I scraped anything. I might have scraped a little bit, like my elbow or something, my knee. But I like wasn't even hurt. I think I still had to run the fucking mile relay after that. Hate that race. And I don't even remember. We might have won that. I don't know. I think I got at least one medal from that meet. Did I? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I was so upset. Nobody talked to me. I had the worst attitude when I went home. I just went home and sulked because I was so beside myself. I couldn't believe it. The one year that we had like perfect weather and it was in the bag and I had it and I just had the worst attitude about it. And my parents were like, dude, like, it's literally going to be fine. Like, it's not the end of the world, but it was, in fact, the end of the world for me. Um, I was very upset about that for a very long time. And then I moved on. Um, Still, won more important races after that, but I really wanted that specific medal. I think I do have the small version of it at least. I do have a box of medals somewhere here, actually. Hold on. Hold on. You guys, you just wait right there. Hold on 1 second. So y'all know I'm not lying. I'm about to do something so obnoxious. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Look. This is so fucking silly. Okay. I don't know if y'all can still hear me, but this is a box of things from when my parents were cleaning out all of their storage. First of all, letters. Let me find that shit. Where is it? I hope this counts as me still making a really big deal out of this. I don't know if I don't. Oh. Yes. Okay, here's one of them, but it's a small one. But this is so if you can imagine it being like maybe 2 or 3 times the size of this. This is like smaller than my palm. This was the one. I wanted a big one, but alas, I only have this small one. I might have another one in here somewhere. Because I have the silver one. Do I have another one? I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this right now. I just think it's funny. I'm entertained by myself. But yeah, basically, that was the medal. There was a bigger version of it that I wanted because I wanted a gold one for my collection so that I could look at it 10 years later and reminisce. But alas. Anyway, I'm going to be 30 in a couple of months. So I could go through all of if I really wanted to have a Leo moment, I would sit here and go through all of my medals with you guys and have a show and tell moment, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. This is my letter for track. He's got the little running shoe. And my letter for basketball. And my letter for academics. Just your little Gemini Leo boy. Anyway. So that was that. Fallon was dramatic. Okay, I want to try and tell one more story. One more story. And then I'm going to get off of here. I'll do it from the other set of cards that I didn't use. Anyway, thank you for indulging me just now. That was so silly. Okay. The die says to share something. Okay, we just did that one. Share something funny. I don't know if I'm actually funny, though, is the problem. But I'll do my best. My whole life is a joke, so it shouldn't be that hard. I can tell you something funny from today before I even pull a card. I don't know if you guys can see on my face right here. Well, you can't see because I have the touch up my appearance mode on for the camera. But when I was at the gym today and I was about to use a machine that I haven't used, and I bumped my head on the machine because it has like these levers that you have to whenever it's a hack squat machine, and so basically you're like in this contraption where there's a foot plate at the bottom, and then you like lean back against the machine, and then it has shoulder pads so that you can do squats, basically like linear squats. And then there's these handles that catch the machine, so you have to lift and then pull the handles in so that you can actually do your squats, and then move the handles back so that it catches the machine. And my dumbass didn't fully know how it worked, so I was trying to like lower the back plate by moving one of the levers at a time, and then whenever I actually got it to move and shift, it it like rebounded into my face. Like, you know, when you don't know how loaded something is and you go to pull on it and it releases and it just smacks you. Yeah, I did that in front of a whole bunch of people at the gym today and it hurted. But I'm not really, I don't think of myself as a clumsy person. And yet the two stories that I've told just now were stories about how I've somehow fallen or injured myself. So it's like, I don't think that I'm clumsy, but apparently, just when you're a Mars dominant person, you injury prone a little bit. So I don't know. I'm not that injury prone, but I kind of am a little bit chaotic. Okay, let me see. Share something funny. I won't shuffle as long this time. Share something funny. I don't know if I can share that one on the internet. The craziest thing I've done for money. Do I have something funny that I've done for money that I'd be willing to share on the internet? Um, yeah, why not? Okay, I got one. I got one. It's funny to me anyway. Funny if you were there. So, something funny about the craziest thing I've done for money. In college, you know the answer. No, you don't. You don't know what I'm about to say. I haven't told you this. I don't think I've told you this. I haven't told a lot of people this. This is one of those things that you just had to be there, but I guess I'm going to tell people now. So I went to school in Wichita Falls for college, and there was a bar called Stage West. And every Thursday night, we would all go to Stage West, and they had 75-cent well drinks, hard liquor, whatever you want, 75 cents during their happy hour. And whether you were, well, I'll just leave that there. So they also had wet t-shirt contests during the summer. And I would stay there during the summer my last semester there because, I was working at the Texas Roadhouse there and taking summer classes. So, oh, yeah, you probably know the one that I don't want to share. Yes. Um So I didn't really, well, I'm not even gonna say that. I hung out with a lot of the like cheerleaders and frat boys the semester that I actually stayed in Wichita Falls. Um the summer that I actually stayed in Wichita Falls and just partied with them the whole time. And that was like whenever I was 21. So 2016, summer 2016. And so, anyways, they had this bar, Stage West, and 75-cent drinks. And so obviously you would just get shit faced for like $5. And or some people would get shit faced for $5. I did not drink that much, but I drank enough to participate in the wet t-shirt contest. And I don't even remember if it was money that they gave us. I think they gave us like, I think there was some cash prize and then like free drink tickets or something like that. I don't remember what the whole prize was, but wet t-shirt contest. And basically the wet t-shirt contest was that they give you a wife beater, a tank top. I don't know what they're called now, what the politically correct term for those is, but they give you wife beaters and really short shorts. And it was usually the girls who did this. This was during my hot girl era, by the way. If you don't know, I had a hot girl era for at least 8 years. And so you Obviously, don't wear a bra, and you wear the wife beater and the shorts, these, like, tiny cotton shorts or whatever that they give you. And it'd be you and, like, however many, 3 or 4 other girls, and then in the middle of the stage, they clear out the dance floor, and they put a little kiddie pool in the middle of the stage with, like, sponges or whatever of, like, soapy water, and then you go out there and you do a dance in the water with the bucket and whatever in front of everybody, to music, and so I did one of those a few times and won because 'cause I'm competitive, and a lot of people knew me, so, I don't know if that's funny or if that's just embarrassing and risque, but one time, I did this wet t-shirt contest, and the next day or a couple of days later, or at least by that Monday, people were coming up to me at school showing me an article that was posted about the competition, and there were pictures of me in the fucking outfit, um, on the article and showing it to me. Showing it to me like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Unfortunately, that is me." It probably still exists somewhere if I wanted to look for it, but I'm not going to tell any of you what the article was or where it was located, but I'm sure you could find it somewhere. So, it was really funny at the time, but, I did so many really cringe things. I did so many cringe things in college, um, especially in 2016 specifically in 2016. I was just, like, wilding out. Jupiter was on my Mars, Saturn was in Scorpio, whatever. Um, y'all are funny. That's kinda a lot. Hold on, what's this story rated? Yeah, no, it doesn't get much deeper than that. They did have also in the winter times, they had a shadow box competition where instead of wet t-shirt, obviously because it would be cold, they had a shadow box. So literally like a box you get in with the shadow, and then you're supposed to go in the box and dance and strip or whatever to win. And I did also win one of those. So funniest thing I ever did for money, or craziest thing I ever did for money. There are crazier things, but that's one that I'm willing to share. That's risque enough, but not maybe illegal. Not you one so good you got posted. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. Well, I do kind of know why. There was a reason why I was popular during that time, which is related to the other thing. But again, we're not getting into that on here. Maybe if the statute of limitations runs out, I'll come back and talk about that. Your boy had a past. A win is a win, damn it. Yeah, absolutely. A win is a win. Oh, that's so funny. Don't tip my Scorpio research skills. Listen, if you want to find it, like, I'm a little bit shameless about it, but not shameless enough that I would actually go retrieve it myself to show you all here because I don't need to be around whenever you see it. But if you if you find it and want to tell me that you found it, go off, sis. We can laugh about it. Literally just popped in to hear this story. I love it. Hey, Karen. Karen's my birthday twin, Capricorn birthday twin. She's a stripper. She's a stripper. Yeah. There are a lot of do not tell a story. I'm not gonna tell a story. Not on the internet. Nope. I'm not gonna tell that story. You just need to know me personally to know that story. Um, but my body was so T. My body was so T. It's still T, but in a different way. But my body was so T at the time, like belly button piercing. And I was also lifting very like religiously because I needed to stay sane back then. So I was like ripped, skinny waist, titties, whatever. So anyway, Um, this is kind of fun. Should I tell one more? Do you want me to tell one more story? Do y'all want to hear one more story about my personal life? I kind of want to tell one more story about my personal life because I feel like these are okay stories, but I want something. I want something really, really spicy, really edgy. But I don't know. Also, maybe my spirits are protecting me, like I asked them to do before I do lives every time. So I'm gonna roll the die one more time. Unless it's something that I already did, then two more times. What? Share what you wouldn't tell mom on the internet? I don't know if she watches these. Anything that I do ever publicly, I just assume that my mother has seen it or at least part of it because she does kind of like she has, I'll say, kind of been in my business like that. But as an adult, as an adult, she don't really be in my business like that anymore. We need to do an after dark one day. You need to do it on a paywall. Yeah, right? Honestly, that's a good idea. I would happily do this with you, Jada, on your channel if you would like. If you want me to bring these cards, because there is actually a spicy deck. All of the pink cards in this deck are spicy topics. So if you want to do that for your subscribers, for a Freaky Friday or something like that, I'm down. I will bring my storytelling deck with me. But I am just curious. I'm gonna just look and see what card comes out on this topic, and if I feel like I would share it publicly or not, and be fine with my mom. Because the thing about my mom is that she knows most things. There's like very very few the things that she hasn't known that I've done. I've been surprised that she didn't know because I'm like, how you know about this other thing, but you didn't know about that. So even if I wouldn't tell her, she probably already knows. And that's my mom. That's having first house moon in Gemini in a nutshell. Now, why it want to be 11 people in the why it want to be 11 people on the live when this question comes up? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I might roll the die again, but let's just build the suspense and see what happens. Man, the moon really is in Leo right now, and it's all fixed signs in the sky, huh? Astrology is so real. Okay, let me do a little shuffle. The people have already requested we do a Freaky Friday. Period. Together. Okay, well, let's do it. We have the equipment. So I'm down. Not me being hood on me. I won't tell anybody. Something I wouldn't tell mom. Okay, let's see. Share what I wouldn't tell mom, even though mom might find out one day if she watches my YouTube channel. Oops. The part of my life that stressed my parents out. Well, I can't share that. Ah, I would share that, but I can't share that publicly. That's actually a good one. Well, sorry, friends. DM me if you want to find out. Actually, don't DM me. I'm not going to tell you. But the part of my life that stressed my parents out, yeah, yeah, that's funny. Okay, okay, I'm gonna roll the die one more time for something else. Sorry. Share something surprising. Okay, that's chill enough. Let me do one more little shuffle here. I'm not gonna say that. Ooh, that's deep. Or that's messy. These are vulnerable. Ew, child, child. Now I'm just cheating. I'm looking through all of these cards. Share something surprising. Okay, so just so y'all know, um, the two cards that I have, because they kind of came out at the same time. The first card that came out was an experience that shaped who I am that few people know about, which I feel like I already told that story, but maybe I didn't. And then the other one is I'm still hoping for an apology from. And you know why this is funny. Um it's very tempting. Both of these are very tempting. Still hoping for an apology from. The devil on my shoulder is like, say it, say it. But I'm not gonna do that. Eee! An experience that shaped who I am that few people know about. Hmm. Something surprising? Y'all are so funny. What's something surprising about an experience that shaped who I am that few people know about? I have to like dig deep into my Mars for this. An experience that shaped who I am, or I'm still hoping for an apology. I don't think I'm gonna do that one, but I just wanted to share the tea on that. You don't gotta say names. That is true. I don't have to say names. But she very much could be watching these. So, what's an experience that shaped who I am that few people know about? I know I have like some villain origin stories, but is there one that I haven't told publicly? Because I already told my whole trans coming out story in detail. um, I've talked. Is this surprising though? I don't know that that's surprising. Just realized I was 30 seconds behind. Yeah, I know the chat is really far behind. Y'all are probably just like, why is he just sitting there? What's an experience that shaped who I am? I don't know. That's a deep question. I guess I don't know if this is surprising necessarily. Um, okay. So I don't know if this is surprising, but oh, I just lost like so many different viewers from contemplating. That's fine. That works. Okay, so when I was I don't have an experience this year that shaped me though. That's the thing, that shaped who I am. Like, I have a particular memory in mind, um, and it's from when I was a little kid, and this really, like, a lot of me is oriented around this particular experience, and it was whenever I was, I wanna say maybe 6 years old. So it probably would have been a time that Jupiter was in Taurus, actually. I think I was 6 years old, and I had gone to stay at my, paternal grandmother's house, so my dad's mom. I would gone to stay at her house in Clovis, New Mexico with my cousin, my other first cousin, and we were there for I don't know how many days. My memory around this is really fuzzy, but it's like a pivotal story for me, and it's not really funny. It was kinda traumatizing for me, but in hindsight, it's like, well, not that big of a deal. But basically, this grandparent was, like, very permissive in general and just, like, me and my cousin were allowed to just do whatever we want. I said New Mexico, but no, I'm not Mexican. Um, so I was staying at my grandma's house with my cousin, and basically, like, one night we had gotten Taco Bell and, like, something else, and, um, I'm, like, trying to figure out how to tell this story that's not so short. But I guess it's just a short story, it doesn't need to be that long. But basically, I got really bad food poisoning from Taco Bell, go figure. And it was one of those situations where, like, I went to bed, I wanna say I went to bed with a stomach ache and then, like, couldn't sleep and was having, like, dreams that were me and my cousin were still playing, like, Mario Kart or whatever, and it was just, like, keeping me awake, and then I woke up in the middle of the night, and then I basically, like, went to the bathroom and got sick, and I was so sick for that night that I was just, like, praying that I would never get sick like that again, because it was just a lot. And then my grandmother just was kinda like, "Are you okay? Whatever," because it was just for the night, and then I was over it. Um, she, like, came and got me, and then I, like, went to go sleep in her bed, basically, and she just, like, went straight back to sleep, but she keeps the TV on while she sleeps, and she was watching, like, black and white TV shows, and I Love Lucy was on, so I was just, like, laying there, um, kind of freaking out about the fact that I had just gotten that sick, like, worried if I was gonna be sick again, was it over? Because it was just so uncomfortable, I was, like, just freaking out about it, and she was just asleep, and so I was just laying there, like, trying to self-soothe somehow, but I don't think this was before Winter had anxiety, and, like, Winter had anxiety from this point on. This was, like, anyway, let me not tell the story out of order, but yeah, I was just laying there, it was, like, hard for me to go back to sleep, it was hard for me to relax, and there was just nobody there to, like, comfort me or soothe me or, like, help me feel better. My grandma just, like, rolled over and went back to bed. My cousin went back to bed, like, there was nobody around. And so I felt like okay when I went back to sleep, but then of course when I woke up the next day, I just still didn't feel good. And I didn't get sick again, but you know how your stomach is just kind of off and you don't want to eat anything, which then just makes you feel worse. Um, because I was afraid to get sick again. And then I called my parents, my mom, I believe, came and picked me up, or my dad. And Clovis is about maybe hour and a half away from Amarillo, where I lived. So I don't remember, like, the drive back very much, but I do remember, like, having to run some errands or something with my mom, or whatever happened after that. We didn't go straight home, and I just wanted to go home and wanted to feel better, and I don't have a memory as an adult of, like, anybody really helping me to feel better, but I do remember my grandmother, my other grandmother, my mom's mom, calling me and asking and saying to me, like, um she, like, asked me, "Oh, what happened? Like, why did you get sick?" And I was like, "I don't know. We ate this and blah 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 and have whatever." And she's like, "Well, what all did you eat?" And I was like, "I don't know. We had Taco Bell. I had an apple, like blah blah blah." And she was like, "Well, did you wash your hands before you ate?" Well, did you wash the apple? She's like, "'Cause, sometimes there, like, be stuff on the apples or whatever, you have to always remember to wash your fruits before you eat them and whatever," and she's like, "Well, maybe you were just homesick. Maybe you were just homesick and you missed your parents." Like, she's just talking to me, trying to make me feel better or whatever. And I kid you not, those 3 obviously, I'm almost 30 years old telling this story, and I remember her saying those 3 things to me. And I kid you not, from that day forward, I've had severe OC not severe. I've had pretty strong OCD around washing my hands before I eat. This is something that if you've been around me in real life personally, you know this. Very OCD about washing my hands before I eat. Like to the point where if I'm eating something like chips out of a bag and then I like stop to touch my phone or touch literally anything else, I have to wash my hands again. A lot of people don't do that. I think y'all are weird for that. Y'all think I'm weird for it, but I think y'all are weird for that. Um, and like people have sort of kind of made fun of me or like bullied me throughout my life for like how adamant I am about washing my hands and like being clean in that way, my parents included. um, but so there's like that. The thing about like washing food, I have a lot of food anxiety in general from that specific incident. Um, and very particular about like I don't think I ate Taco Bell ever again. It's like scarred in my brain from that experience. And I also just anytime that I did try to eat it after that, my body was like, no, out. So I think that happens to a lot of people. Anyway, and then with the homesick thing, this is the weirdest one to me because it's so innocuous. Like, oh, you were probably just missed your parents. It's like no big deal. I literally internalized this as a child as like, I can't be away from home or I'm going to get sick. This is very vulnerable for me, by the way, because these are like actually my OCD thoughts that the ruminations that actually still affect me to this day, even though I literally don't live with my parents anymore. But anytime that I travel, I get anxiety. Anytime that I've like spent the night away from home or my home or like around other people, I get anxiety. It was really hard for me to spend the night at friends' houses after that. I would like have to call my parents to come pick me up in the middle of the night. When we would have basketball camps and stuff like that, um, in high school, like I would still get anxious about um like spending nights away and they would only be 3 or 4 day camps, you know, but it would stress me out so much. And then going away to college, like actually moving away from home for the first time, I was so nervous about that. And eventually I got over it because I realized I liked being on my own. But living in the dorms and don't let somebody else in the dorms be sick. So all of that to say this that singular experience, like it's actually kind of a big deal for me to be sharing this. That singular experience literally has shaped the rest of my life since then. Um and it's like something that I could stand to do EMDR about to actually like close whatever anxiety group formed around that because listen, from that experience, that along with tornado anxiety were the 2 things that got me on anti-anxiety meds, like, really young, and then eventually got me back on anxiety meds later because once that nervous system loop is open and doesn't get closed properly or doesn't get processed properly, that's basically how, like, a lot of disorders start. And so, because that like I don't know, I still don't know. Obviously, I haven't fully processed it, but this is like my parents know this. People who are really, really, really close to me, like really close to me, know this because it's also kind of a thing where I felt a lot of shame about that experience because it didn't make sense to me why I would still hold on to it through so much of my life. But that's like where a lot of eating disorders started for me. That's where anxiety started for me. That's where OCD started for me. A lot of things started from that particular singular experience and literally has shaped maybe not who I am, but like kind of who I am. It's a huge villain origin story for me that I have never been able to resolve. It's the reason why I got into psychology. It's the reason why I still like why I struggle with relationships. It's the reason why I don't know. And it can all be explained by that Venus Jupiter conjunction in my Scorpio 6th house. From whenever I was 6 years old, having my Jupiter opposition. Because I looked up the astrology to it when I actually thought about it one day, and I'm pretty sure, yeah. Um, Not only that, but I think Saturn might have also been in Taurus as well. So kind of a big deal. Big deal transits happening for me to also be in probably a sixth house perfection as well. So yeah. Hello. Hold on. What? One time I was at a birthday sleepover when I was 9 and where we lived caught on fire while I was gone. Listen, that's fucking real. Oh my god. That would absolutely, yeah, I was gonna say that would 1000% create OCD in a small child. Like, thank you for sharing that, because holy shit. That's wild. I'm so sorry that that happened. Teb says that's me with Orange Julius. Yeah. Yeah, a fellow OCD haver. Please, I totally get this similar experience in my childhood that I still carry. Thank you for sharing. Yes, yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. First time commenting because I'm a little shy, but thank you for sharing. Oh, thank you for commenting. Absolutely. Making me think about my own stories in childhood too. It's interesting what becomes a core memory. It's so random too. Like, thinking about that as an adult, and like, obviously that's not the only time I was sick as a child, so it's so interesting that that was the experience that did it. And I don't know if that was just because like that was a point where my brain was online in a particular way that the memories actually got stored, or what it was. But um there are some other core memories related to getting sick after that that kind of pile onto it, but that's the original one that I can think of. That's like when everything started, because it was like I lost so much weight after that happened. I was kind of a chunky kid. Um, like, I was at least 100 pounds or more by like the third grade or something, and I was also the tallest. So I was just one of the biggest kids in my class. And then I think it was third grade. I think it was third grade, third or fourth grade when this happened, and then it started leading to eating disorder stuff. I like lost so much weight. I was very, very skinny. And then just kind of have had weight fluctuations ever since then, because it's all around eating, especially. And just, yeah, I just think it's so odd that those three things, hearing from my grandmother of all people, my other grandmother, because she also helped raise me, my mom's mom, more first house moon things, but she also helped raise me. And just for whatever reason, it's like it stuck in my head and it became compulsive after that. Like, and like that was another thing too, that kind of reflecting on that experience makes me think about how dissociation shows up for me, and anxiety kind of as numbing, because anxiety for me is more physical than it is mental. Like, it starts physical for me and then it turns into racing thoughts because I'm freaking out about what my body is doing. And it's always like tight stomach now from that experience. It's always like a clenched stomach and digestion gets all interrupted, but it's also trembling, which trembling to me feels more like the anxiety release of it. But it's very like when the anxiety gets too overwhelming, but I can't get out of it, I just like tremble and I dissociate. Like, I'm not in my body, I'm somewhere else. But that feels like the only thing that feels, it's not even that it's soothing, but it's distracting from whatever other sensation that I'm feeling. Um, but that response of just like being trapped in my body in this way that I'm not, like, I can feel when it happens and I like go a little bit nonverbal. Not totally nonverbal, but like stop saying words and it gets harder to communicate because I'm just stuck in like a freeze state. And I can feel that my body is stuck, and then like my mind gets stuck, and then I just like check out. And then whenever the anxiety wears off or the energy burns off or whatever, I like can pace around and do stuff like that too. Then I like start to come back, and it's very exhausting, and then I'm just like wiped out for the next day. Um, these things have gotten infinitely better since I started testosterone. which is really interesting to me too, because I never associated that with testosterone. I mean, I don't, and not to say that testosterone directly has something to do with it, but um, it is weird how my relationship with anxiety has changed since being on T. It doesn't affect me the same way, and if it does affect me, I think through doing somatic therapy and stuff like that, I've learned how to actually lean into anxiety instead of not feel it, because a lot of what I was doing before was trying to not feel it. I would start to get the sensation, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that," and then just like, boop. But now I'm like, lean into it, breathe into it, especially after doing yoga and stuff for so long that now I feel like it passes a lot faster, but it doesn't get any less overwhelming to actually sit with the feelings, as we always say. So, yeah, that felt like a potent enough story to end on with that game. Um, I feel like it's a big deal for me to share that publicly as an adult, to mostly get over the shame of it, because I do feel like, I don't know that resolved is necessarily the word, but I think I've allowed myself to think about it and talk about it with people enough at this point that I don't want to like hide about it anymore, I guess, or I don't want to let it have that much control over my psyche anymore or something. But particularly in not wanting to feel shame about it. I don't necessarily know why I feel shame about it. It feels a little embarrassing, but for the most part I just feel like a lot of empathy for the child version of me, because just thinking about telling the story and hearing myself tell it with all the knowledge and information that I have now about psychology, I think it really was just feeling like I was in distress in a way that I didn't understand, and nobody noticed. Everybody just kind of was like, kids get sick, big deal. But for me, for whatever reason, it was a really big deal. And I guess maybe my grandmother being the one person who did really like sit and try to talk to me about it, I really like took her words to heart in a way that I carried it with me for the rest of my life. So I don't know if I had to psychoanalyze myself, that's what I would say. But the whole reason I started doing somatic therapy in 2023 was because I eventually wanted to do EMDR around that particular experience, and because I wanted to be able to fly on a direct flight to Hawaii for 8 hours. That's another story for another day. But if you want to talk about a big overcoming anxiety experience, that flight was definitely one of them. So maybe I'll talk about that another day. But thank you for sharing. It makes me feel less weird. It makes me feel less weird that you have also had a same experience, because yeah, OCD specifically, like the way that it's portrayed in media is not, I'm not going to say it's not how it is, because obviously those people are having that experience, but that's like one way that disorder actually manifests. It is very much like having these intrusive, distressing thoughts that you don't want to be having, and compulsively having them and having to follow through um with a particular I forget what they're called, like process of some kind of a thing to alleviate the distress around it. And for me, there's like, I do a lot of masking around OCD specifically. I've never been diagnosed with it, but once I actually learned what it was, I was like, oh, well shit, that's literally what I've had this entire time and nobody told me. Would have been nice to do something about that, because it absolutely ruined so much. I won't say it ruined my life, but it really like, it's something that I carry and mask really hard, and it takes so much energy to mask that, and it's very disruptive to relationships. And even just to like being at work sometimes too. So anyway, all that to say, yeah, it's not fun. It's not cute. It's very isolating and very disabling. Oh my god, it's incredibly disabling, dude. Like, yeah, I've started getting on people when they're like, "Yeah, I'm just really OCD about having everything be in order." I'm like, "That's not what OCD is. It's not what it is." Um, it's way worse. It's way worse than just needing things to be tidy and organized, I promise. I think about how much my emotional distress was neurological in addition to environmental. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So glad you're allowing yourself to release the shame. It sounds like you were just trying to figure out how to self soothe and tend to yourself. Shout out to little you for doing the best they could. I know. Shout out to her. Poor baby. Poor baby. That's probably one of the most misunderstood things about me as well, because I didn't have language for it as a kid. I didn't have language for it. I didn't know how to tell what to tell my parents. Didn't know what to tell the therapist, the psychiatrist that I saw. Didn't know what to tell partners later in life or friends, employers. God, working at the yoga studio because it was a hot yoga studio. Yeah. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna get off of here now. That was cathartic for me. It was cathartic for me. I feel the knot in my stomach right now as we're talking about it. So clearly it's in the room with me right now. But I think that's because it's now present for me to move it move it around. So I'm gonna do that. I'm doing a little bit of a delay so your comments can come through before I close out. But thank you so much for listening. And again, if you haven't liked the video, please like the video. I gave y'all a lot of personal content today, so please positively reinforce this behavior by liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Because I like having conversations like this. They feel important to me and to my work in a way that is in a way that I don't understand yet. So that's why I do it. And it's super cool the way that you guys respond as well. So thank you. I love my little YouTube community that I'm building, and I'm so glad that you're here. I will talk to you all again very, very soon. I hope y'all have a great night. Bye. Did the thing again where the music was at the end of the track. Whatever, man. Peace.